Hi everyone, my name is Julie and welcome to my 5th ever Flosstube. I had uploaded my 4th Flosstube last month during January after I think 8 or 9 month absence. So thank you for anybody who had stuck around, who stayed subscribed, or who came back and checked out my channel and watched my 4th Flosstube. I really appreciate all of the feedback and all of the encouragement I've gotten from this community. And for anybody who is finding me for the first time, welcome. I hope you will enjoy this channel and enjoy my video. My name is Julie. I've been cross-stitching since 2021, so I'm heading into my 6th year of cross-stitching. And as I mentioned in my previous video, my previous Flosstube, I turned 40 in early January, so I decided that for the year of 2026, I would do 40 new starts. So my focus this year is absolutely on smalls so that I can kind of get through the starts and hopefully also finish a lot of pieces. Normally I'm a big sampler lover as well, so I do have a sampler as a whip that I will show you, but I have quite a few smalls that I have worked on and finished also, which is quite a shock for me because I usually procrastinate on finishing. But in the past, 4-6 weeks or so, I've been rather productive. So today I will show you some of the FFOs that I've done of either previous finishes from years past, some of the things I finished of my more recent stitching. I'll show you other things I've been working on, some whips, and a little bit of plans in terms of a couple of small pieces that I am hoping to start within the next few days or week or so. Firstly, I thought I would show my 2026 book of days. I think I've had a book of days every year, or almost every year, maybe only since 2022. I started stitching in 2021, but most years I haven't stuck with it. I will pick it up in January for a couple of weeks and then I will forget about it. And then, it comes to like later in the year, I'll do a little bit more. And then I just don't really stick with it. But this year, one of my goals for 2026, in addition to the 40 new starts, is to stitch every single day. And I'm in a group with the Sampler Guild of the UK run by Linda Haddon. So she's got a WhatsApp group that is full of stitchers who are aiming to stitch every single day of the year. So between that, between wanting to do all of these starts and then also putting my book of days in a more accessible spot. Oh, you see my cat's tail. I've actually been sticking with filling out my book of days. So I thought I would show you the first couple of months. So here we have my January spread. I have added in some stickers and also a couple of the tags of 2 weeks dye works threads that I have finished. I finished chickpea and grits in January. Now I didn't use the entire skein within that month. It's just that I finished it. But as you'll see, I was quite diligent with filling out my stitching. So I have different new starts and finishes. I got to 7 new starts in January. And then turning to February, as you see, I was trying to go for like a little pinky love theme. That little girl, love it. So for those that can read my chicken scratch, most of my February has been sugar. That's the Stacy Nash animal cracker that she released at the Jingle Ball back in December. I started sugar on the 4th of February and I've been working on her ever since. So I've been working on her now for more than 2 weeks. Still isn't finished. Admittedly, I haven't had as much time for stitching in the past couple of weeks as I did back in January. So my progress has been slower, but also she is a bit of a beast. She's slightly bigger than the other animal crackers, at least that I've seen or that I've stitched. And it's a lot of solid stitching, as with most of the animal crackers, but combining those two, I just haven't gotten it done yet. But I'm hoping this weekend, I'm filming this on Thursday, I think the 19th of February, and I'm hoping to have sugar finished and just start another couple of pieces soon. But in any case, that is my book of days. So I will go ahead and start showing you some of the pieces that I finished. I have a couple that were older pieces of stitching that had just been sitting in a drawer, and my goal is to you know, every time I take out my sewing machine to do maybe like 3 or 4 different finishes, for example. I'm not a great finisher by any means. I'm a very amateur sewer, but I do what I can, particularly because of where I live. I'm in the Western Balkans. I don't have access to a finisher very easily. There are a couple of that I have used in the US. And so what I normally do is, like, if I'm back home on a trip, visiting family or going to a retreat, I'll send a couple of things off to a finisher and then have that person return them to a US address. So usually I use a really good friend of mine from childhood who lives in Chicago. He's kind enough to let me ship all my things to him and everything. So I've used Vonna Pfeiffer, who has retired and is no longer doing finishing services. But I've also more recently used Faye Rigsby. Maybe I'll put a photo here of a finish that she did for me of an ornament from Teresa Kogut called Peace. I haven't seen it in person, but the photos that Faye sent me, I posted them on my Instagram a little while ago, are just stunning. I couldn't be happier. That was my first time using Faye. I wrote her a message, I think, on Instagram. I told her I have no time frame, I have no deadline, so can I just send it to her and whenever she can get to it. And I think that's often key. I know a lot of finishers are really full up, especially around certain holiday periods when people are, you know, trying to get their items, you know, finished for gifts or whatnot. But in my experience, when I've reached out to finishers, because, you know, my finished items are just going to sit in a room in Chicago until the next time I take a trip, I don't really have, you know, any deadlines. So that helps with getting finishers to agree that yes, they can take my pieces. But in any case, so that was Peace by Teresa Kogut that Faye Rigsby has finished. But my much more amateur finish, I have here Snow by the Trilogy, which I turned into just this cute little pillow. I put some chenille trim on it. I've got backing. I don't love how I did this. I cut a slit and filled this with, I'm gonna say, a combination of sawdust and fiberfill. So this is really janky, but you know, I'll only ever display it like this. And I really love this piece. I think also the trim matches really well. So I'm happy with that. And if you have any questions about the specific, you know, trim or anything that I have used, I probably won't be able to just say it in this video off the top of my head. But if there's anything that you want to know more about, please just write in the comments below and I can check my stash of finishing supplies and see exactly like what shade I used, who's the dyer, who's the company, etc. Another very simple little finish I did, this is Love Never Fails. This is a freebie from the Primitive Hair. Oh, and I should say, sorry, Snow was stitched on a 40 count summer khaki by Witcholds. And Love Never Fails is on 38 count Wayfarer's Cloak by Legacy Linen. And it's got some cat hairs as always. I just finished it with a piece of velvet. I'm gonna say that this is from Lady Dot Creates. As you can, this is what I mean by I'm not a very good finisher. The ladder stitch, I realized I think I was trying to take my needle too far up, and so some of these finishes I probably should redo. I don't think I'm going to, but in the future I've watched some videos and I think I'll be able to have a better technique. But those were a couple of pieces of stitching that I had from quite a long time ago. And they've just been languishing in a drawer. But some more recent pieces that I finished, so I think I showed this in the last video. This is Hands Across the Sea, Marry Groom, which I did as my blessing sampler. And I stole the idea fully from Audrey Stitch Bead. She had stitched this as her blessing sampler in 2025. She stitched it on 56 count white mustard by XG Designs with some SWA 103 silks. So I copied her and I stitched mine on 56 count white mustard with the SWA 103s. I love how small and cute this is. I also really like the satin stitching. I have a piece of mustard fabric. I like this finish a little bit more. I did the same technique where I cut a hole and I've put just a little cutout heart shape. This has sawdust in it, so it gives it a nice firm finish, but then I made it really full by putting polyfill in the back. My idea here is that in 2026, while focusing on smalls, because I am a sampler lover, I also want to stitch quite a few small samplers and turn them into pillows that I can put in a little dough bowl. Now, I'd seen this idea from Brenda, of Brenda and Laura, Brenda and the Serial Starter. I don't know that it was, you know, her idea or her original idea to do a dough bowl full of samplers, but she's the first one that I saw talk about it, and I just thought it was a brilliant idea. And Brenda's always such an amazing source of inspiration, as everybody knows. So I've been putting this in a little shaker tray along with some other pieces, and hopefully I'll keep adding to that over the course of the year. A second sampler that I have turned into a little pillow to add to my dough bowl is from Cross Stitch Antiques. This is the National Female Model School is the name of the chart. This is a chart that we were given at Swindon at the Hands Across the Sea retreat this past October. It is going to be released at market, so it will be out in a matter of weeks. I watched Kathleen's video on her market releases and was really, really pleased to see that this was in there. It's absolutely gorgeous. So I finished it with this sort of red striped backing. Again, my ladder stitching at the bottom is a bit wonky and has kind of pulled it funny, but this has sawdust and the polyfill. I put a little ribbon and a, a decorative pin that I made. I had ordered some beads off of Etsy and then picked some up at Michael's. And I thought that this ribbon drapes really nicely with all of that, but I love, love, love this sampler. And after I had posted my finish of this online, somebody reached out to me and just mentioned in a comment that there was a Blackbird Designs chart that was really similar to this. And I want to say it's in maybe the Sewing Sisters book. If I can, I'll try to put a picture of the book that it's in, as well as maybe a picture of that chart. So I've managed to track down that chart. I have it shipped to my friend's address in the States. Hopefully I'll get it at some point soon, because it is from the same actual school in Kildare in Ireland. So there are huge similarities, and so I'd love to have both of those. This was stitched on, I believe, a 46 count vintage pecan butter by Lakeside Linen. Lakeside Linen, of course, is very precious, but I have managed to track down a few pieces, and I think I had a half yard even of this, maybe just a back quarter. But in any case, I went ahead and I thought the color was just absolutely gorgeous. And I recently was watching, just this morning, in fact, Nicole's Needlework. And she said that she wants to put on a t-shirt, like, life's too short, use the Lakeside. Because I know we all have a tendency to hoard the linens from Lakeside because they're a bit hard to come by these days. But I'm really glad I went ahead and used this. Another stitch that was actually an older piece of stitching, but I only finished it, was this Merry Christmas by Crow's Feet Stitching. Again, my finishing is not the best, but I love this design. To me, it reads as really Dickensian, you know, Christmas Carol. I love Ruthie Stiles. She is such a talented designer. And I think this was the first chart of hers that I had stitched, and certainly won't be the last, but I used just the called for. I believe this is a linen from, probably a bit difficult to source for most people. It's a 36 count walnut by Dutch Mill, which is the dyeing business part of a Dutch needlework shop, De Handwerk Boutique. So I had ordered this linen from her, but it's just that really kind of nice tan, slightly mottled. And I put just a little piece of chenille trim. It's got some velvet. I think it's the same velvet, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. Same piece as this Love Never Dies small. But yeah, quite happy with that in general, even though, again, my finishing needs work. I have a couple of La Di Da pieces that I finished. This is a freebie from La Di Da called Love Ya, and it's just an alphabet with hearts. I put this as a little pillow. I love this backing fabric. Some chenille trim, and again, a couple of little counting pins that I made using some beads. I had made a bunch of these up to give away at a couple of the retreats that I went to last autumn, and I, of course, kept a couple back for myself. And this was stitched on a piece of, I think, 46 count heirloom by Needle Bling Designs, so it's just a really nice cream. and I used just a couple of random flosses that I had pulled. Usually I use the called for, but I think on this it called for some weeks, and I thought, oh, I have some of these Victorian motto threads that I wanted to use. So I used those up. This is another La-Di-Da. This is called And Rudolph. I had talked about this, wanting to stitch this in my last video when I showed some of the charts that I was thinking about doing for my 2026 40 starts. And this one I actually got around to. So this is on a piece of 40 count platinum by weeks. And rather than using the called for thread, which I don't even remember what it was, I used a silk, a green silk inspired by Lori Holt with her little green double of Christmas finishes. I'll have to put it on the screen what the silk was because I'm drawing a complete blank. But what I can tell you is one time when I had visited Keepsakes, which actually is the only time that I've ever visited Keepsakes, I saw that they had a finish of this chart, and they, rather than do it as a standard pillow, they had tied it up as a little sack. So it almost looked like a bag of toys that Santa had brought. And so that's what inspired this. So I just used more of the week's linen on the back. I wish I had started the stitching further down on the piece of linen because I don't have enough up here, up top, to really do the look that I wanted to do. But I just used crumpled pieces of paper to kind of stuff in there. Just sewed it as if it was a pillow, but obviously left the top open. And then I had some green sari ribbon that I've used there. And I think this is just a really, really cute finish, barring, the fact that I wish I had more on top there. But so those are all of the FFOs that I've gotten done. I was really on a roll back in January. Since we've moved into February, I haven't finished any more pieces in terms of FFOing, but I have a couple of other pieces that I've stitched on to show you the finish. So I have this Dear Friend, which is a Blackbird Designs chart. Put that a little closer. This is on a piece of 36 count mellow by Picture This Plus. I used the called for threads, which I'm sure were weeks. This is from the And the Birds Sing needle roll book. So there are a couple of little small charts in there. And this is another one that I talked about wanting to stitch up in 2026. And so I'm really pleased to have gotten that done. I'm going to turn that into a little pillow. I was a little late, but better late than never, in stitching the Gingerbread Man from Stacy Nash. This is on a piece of 36 count hot cocoa from Blackberry Primitives. Sorry, I need like something behind it. Bear with me. Let's see, there we go, that's better. I just adore Stacy Nash. I mean, her designs are just the sweetest. I love her use of color. Even though she's got some confetti stitching, which is maybe not, the easiest to stitch, it always looks so stunning. So I'm just really in awe of her. So this comes as a needlework book. I think I will do it in that style. I'll finish it as a little needle book. But then I was thinking about stitching this maybe as an ornament for the tree on a higher count linen so that it's a little bit smaller, because I think it's about, I just stuck myself with a needle, almost the size of my hand. So it's a bit big to be an ornament. So I thought if I could find another dark linen in my stash that was maybe a 46 count or even a 56 count, I could do that and make it a little bit smaller. So those are all of the finishes that I've had so far, and all of the fully finishes I've done. However, I'm working on currently 2 different pieces. I have my Sugar by Stacy Nash that I mentioned when I showed my book of days that I have been working on since the 4th of February. So this is how far I have gotten on Sugar. Oh, let me put that backing behind it. So this is how far I've gotten on Sugar. Cute, cute, cute little skunk wearing a Christmas sweater. I absolutely love it. I would say I'm about, 60% done, maybe even a little bit higher than that. But I still need to do the rest of the sweater and his little legs, or her little legs. I'm not sure if she's a boy or a girl. but this is being done on a piece of 40 count flax by Weeks Dye Works. And so like I said, I'm hoping to finish that up over this weekend. And then the other sampler whip that I've been working on, I told myself that among my starts, I wanted to work on at least one sampler because I didn't want to have no samplers finished in 2026. So I started Hannah Whitaker. This is going to need the backing as well. Hannah Whitaker by Cross Stitch Antiques, which we were able to buy after the Ackworth retreat last autumn up in the Ackworth School in England. So this is my start. And I think last time I just had 3 of these little edge motifs. I didn't have any in the center. But I will show a picture of the, completed sampler here. I think this is a picture of the antique. But this is another design that Kathleen Littleton, the designer behind Cross Stitch Antiques, is releasing at market in a couple of weeks. So you will be able to get your hands on this. I saw that she's posted her thread list for all of her charts that are going to be coming out on market on her Instagram. So if you're looking to pull the threads in advance, you can go ahead and do that. I'm stitching it on the called for silks. I think she's a few different thread lists that you can work from, but these are the Glorianas with a couple of Belle Soirs mixed in. So I'm working on that. My idea is a few days each month to sort of break the monotony of maybe working on only smalls. It's my first time stitching on a Quaker. I think it's such a beautiful one. My favorite part is the little swan motif in the middle. And I'm really, really looking forward to working my way down to that. So hopefully sooner than later, I will get to that. One other thing that I've worked on this month, because I'm a notorious buyer of crafts and other craft projects, and then I never seem to actually work on them. I only ever stick to cross stitch. So I have a brooch that sorry, it's got this like loose thread. So I decided to try my hand at some beadwork. So this is a kit. I think I got this from Hobby House Needleworks at one point in time, ordering it online. So it's a crystal art kit. It's meant to become a brooch. But I think what I'm gonna do is turn it into an ornament. So you can see my threads going crazy on the back. I need to put a backing fabric on this and maybe a ribbon to hang from the top. But I think I'm gonna put this as an ornament on my Christmas tree. I just don't see myself ever really using a brooch. But this little kit comes with basically everything you need. So the instructions are that, at least in the couple of kits that I've gotten, are in Ukrainian, Russian, and in English. They're not necessarily the most clear, so it was a little bit trial and error. But the whole idea is that you get a piece of felt that has colored lines as a guide of like where the beads need to be placed and which ones, so you can match it up. So let's say it's a green line, and your little sheet will tell you what beads correspond with the green line. So you're able to sort of, like paint by numbers, sort of match, mix and match and everything. So I thought that was a really fun way to mix up all of the stitching. So that was just something I wanted to show. This next month, I'm hoping to work on one of the Mary Jo Heine strawberries. I got, I think, the traditional strawberry set, but I was of course influenced by Audrey at Stitch Stitch Bead again. I've also seen that Sean, Periwinkle Stitcher, has been working on some strawberries, so I might have to hit them both up for some tips and tricks when I start working on those. But the other things I wanted to start, so once I finish sugar, I was thinking to go to one of 2 kits. Both are by Samplers Not Forgotten. This is the Be Still My Heart Hydrangea kit. Sorry for the glare there. So this is a little kit that comes with, if you haven't done any of her charts, all of her kits come with the threads, the fabric, finishing fabric, little accessories to make the entire thing that's on the front. And I've stitched one of hers, I think it was Key to My Heart, which is the little plaid heart. I'll try to put a photo up. But what I discovered through that kit was a couple of things. One, if you are judicious with your threads, you can probably get enough threads to make 2 of the pillows. So for the Key to My Heart, I still have the threads. I'm planning on making a second with just a random piece of linen from my collection, but that's really nice. But the other thing I have discovered through trial and error is that because she only sends you enough threads, you know, she's quite generous with her threads. Obviously, if you can get 2 full pillows out of it, then you absolutely won't run out. But the threads are sent to you as just a little bundle, so they're not individually labeled. But the kits will tell you, you know, this symbol corresponds to the white, this symbol corresponds to bright green, this one to dark variegated yellow/green. You know, here we also have gray green, pale green, medium green, tan. So what I recommend is you firstly undo all of your threads and figure out which one is the medium green, which one is the pale green. Because what I did on Key to My Heart is that I was using a pink that I thought was like the light pink in the kit, and really it was the medium pink because I hadn't taken out the threads beforehand and actually worked out which corresponds to which color. It wasn't a disaster. I just, you know, frogged a little bit and then restitched, still have plenty of thread. But that's my hot tip, is to take your threads out first and really make sure that you know what is what. So that is a potential contender. I really like just the simplicity, and you know, I think the white hydrangeas are really chic and really cute. So I was thinking about that, or Bouquet 1813 kit, which is sort of a little flower urn kit. And same sort of thing, comes with the fabric, the finishing fabric, the threads, they're kind of hidden in there. But so I'm thinking to start one of these kits after I finish sugar. So I'm not sure which, so maybe in the next video I will be able to show you which one I chose and which one I'm going to work on. So I haven't taken too much time yet, so I thought I would also show you a couple of my framed samplers or my framed pieces from previous years. As I mentioned, I've only been stitching, this is only my 6th year, so I don't have anywhere near as many finishes as a lot of stitchers, but I've been fortunate enough to finish quite a few beautiful samplers that I really love and had them framed by some great framers. So I will go ahead and show you a couple of those pieces. Okay, so for a couple of finished and framed pieces that I thought I would share with you today. So the first one is a formerly out of print, but now back in print. Sorry, you see the glare from my little ring light that I'm using. So this is a Blackbird Designs chart, Birds of a Feather. This was stitched on, I think, a 40 count straw by Weeks Dye Works. I think it's the old Weeks. Really, really fun colors and design, and I had that framed, I believe, in the Netherlands. So this is one that was previously really, really hard to come by. Now it's readily available. So if you see it on a resale site or one of these stash unloads or on eBay for an inflated price, just remember you can get it straight from your local needlework shop or online needlework retailer. And so don't succumb to that pressure because it has been reprinted. This is The Key by Barbara Anna. This is one that I just framed in a regular picture frame, so it's not got any glass on it. You can see it's very, amateurish. I put this on a piece of cardboard with some foam batting under it, so it's got a little bit of give, so it's a little bit puffed out. I used the called for DMCs on this one. This beautiful blue linen is a shade called Jean, and it's by Tom and Melanie, who I think is an English-French woman, who I think is based in France. She dyes now the atelier threads, and she also dyes linen. So I just thought that was really gorgeous, really quirky, unusual colors, not my normal style, but really, really fun to stitch. I also have Summer at Cherry Hill from Brenda Gervais with Thy Needle and Thread, and I used the called for threads on, I think, 40 count antique lace by Sarah Femme Fabrics. This is another one that I just framed myself, so it's a really lightweight frame, very cheap and inexpensive. I did the same thing. I have a piece of cardboard with some batting over it and then just my fabric pulled. I think it's okay. You see that like it's not really straight there, but for an at-home, framing job. And I didn't want to pull the linen any more taut because, as you see, it's a really tight frame. It's a really tight fit around the edge of the stitching. So I didn't think I could pull it any tighter for risk of losing some of the stitching behind the frame. Next, I have a Hands Across the Sea Mary Wigglesworth. I remember seeing Nicola of Hands Across the Sea stitching on this before it was released and just asking her, I think in a message, like, when is that going to be released? I just love this and actually bought it, stitched it right away, used the called for silks, used a piece of 40 count creme brulee from Tabby Cat. Beautiful frame. I got this framed in The Hague in the Netherlands when I was living there. But I just think this is absolutely gorgeous, gorgeous chart. I love the flowers, the flower border. I really remember being so drawn to this band across the top there. And then last but certainly not least, I wanted to show you what I would say is one of my top 2 samplers that I have ever stitched on. My other favorite, I think, is Needlework Pressed by Mary Argent. I'll have to show you that another time, just to not sort of overload in this one video. But this and Mary Argent are tied for my favorite samplers that I've ever worked on. This is GH 1857 by Simona at Sodide. This is one that a lot of people are working on right now. I know that there's a sale going on. I've seen Sean of Periwinkle Stitcher talk about this. And again, sorry for the glare. I stitched this on a piece of fiber on a whim in the color Wheat, 40 count, with the called for over-dyed flosses. I absolutely love the frame. I love how like warm and yellowy all these tones are, the blues, the creams. So really just right up my alley. So I wanted to show this for anybody who's thinking about doing that sal or who's in that sal. It's really worth doing because the finished piece is absolutely gorgeous. That is on display in my house at all times. I really, really love that one. So I think that is it for today. I think this is one of the shorter videos that I've done, so maybe that's a good thing that I have rambled on for less time than normal. Hopefully though, that was a nice overview of some finishes. It's holding me accountable to making progress on these 40 starts. Hopefully I will finish Sugar and start one of the Samplers Not Forgotten little kits and get back on a roll on really churning out the small finishes, because I've loved the fact that I've had so many already this year. And hopefully next time I come back, I can also show you some more fully finished objects, get myself back into the rhythm of finishing those. So with that said, thank you again for watching. I really, really appreciate it. Please feel free to subscribe if you'd like to subscribe to my channel. That would be greatly appreciated. If you have any questions about anything I've mentioned, any of the finishing, trims or anything, please just leave a comment below and I can look into those details for you. Otherwise, you can find some of my more frequent updates over on my Instagram. And thanks again for watching. All right, bye-bye.